I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about Sunday. It was obviously I'll kind of stand by what I said after the game, and we had a really aggressive day of film and on the court work on Monday, which wasn't even planned really, but sometimes you got to shift gears in this business. So, but we're excited to hit the floor later today. I think with games like that, the first part of healing is actually watching the film, seeing the mistakes, watching the breakdowns, and then the consequences that result from a performance like that. So that was Monday, and it wasn't pleasant for anybody, for all of us, for coaches and players, but it was necessary. And then the next phase is going to be like, okay, what did you learn from that? Now that you saw mistakes and errors, things you got to get better at and change. Now what can you add? What do you subtract? What do you need to do differently that wasn't successful in that game? And so you learn a lot about new directions you might have to go, things you have to tweak, and so that's kind of the focus of where we are right now, and obviously excited to hit the floor on Tuesday.
How have the players responded to that?
It's hard to not respond, and when you watch it on film and you see the errors that were being made, you can't contest it. It's like you either own the truth of it, or you just you're delusional. So I think for the most part there was pretty good comments about just accepting what had happened, to understand that yes, I was wrong here. I should have been in this position on defense, or in the numerous pin downs and actions that Duke had to get the numerous 3-point shots that they made. They're in a good space with what they have, but there's still some things that we needed to do differently that would have made potentially made things more difficult. So when they see that, I do think that genuinely it felt like the group understood the mistakes that were being made.
So was it the intensity or the effort that upset you the most?
Just more of the when the game began to get out of hand, there was no resistance to stop it. There was no just enough of a backbone or a mental toughness to try and stop the bleeding, and I felt like we accepted it, and that's a non-negotiable as a competitor to never allow that. And we have too many good basketball players on this team for that to happen. But I mean they're in a really good spot. I didn't really want to talk so much about this game because I got closure on it on Monday and Tuesday, and I'm trying to just think about Idaho State at this point.
Sure.
Have there been any particular players that have stepped up in the accountability department, holding other guys accountable this past week?
I think there's been some positive comments. I like the things that Bashir said, and Adam was saying the right things. I think BJ owned some of the mistakes that were made. There was a fair amount of accountability from those guys, and I told them it's they're older, they've been productive players. They have to play better in big games as older players on the road moving forward. And you need better production from those guys. So I think we're getting to the point where we're getting closer, to be on the same page. Game like that could either, kind of galvanize you and what you're doing, or just, fracture you. So we'll, see what we're made of here over the next several days of practice, getting ready for the home opener.
What has the initial stages of practice seemed like then in terms of galvanizing the troops, right, and the focus you guys have had since coming back?
Yeah, it was just how we set this up is. We got multiple practices leading into Tuesday, starting today. So I'll know more about what they look like now. It was, my idea as I build the preseason was you get 30 practices in 42 days, and I'm saying, the Duke game is the signature game. It's going to really, test us and show us where we are. So we're going to travel across the country. I want to give these guys 2 straight days off after to get their legs back. As things turned out, that's not what happened. So we had 2 days off, Tuesday and Wednesday, so we'll hit the floor later today. We just had a kind of more of like a walkthrough, shoot around. So we'll go twice today, and then twice tomorrow, and get ready for Tuesday.
Your non-conference schedule is quite difficult. So how realistic is it, do you think, to make significant strides like in the next week to 2 weeks to get to where you're feeling good about going into some of these games?
That's a good question, Chris. I'm not, it's Halloween, it's scary. That's just,
Yeah.
When you see it that way, and then what's in front of you, and you're in the abyss right now. You're in a little bit of the unknown, because I saw a lot of things that gave me reasons to be really excited about the season. Flashes of really good basketball throughout the preseason, and that was a big wake-up call, and hopefully, again, it's going to come down to making the adjustments that we need to make, learning about what your strengths are, and trying to play to those strengths, and trying to minimize doing things that you shouldn't be doing. And I think I saw enough of all of that stuff that it could take me in some different directions about just like what we need to do to try and become better, and that's what we'll focus on here leading into the opener and beyond that.
What are those glimpses, like the things that you feel like are there to extract? Well,
I'm just gonna keep saying, even though like both games we really didn't shoot the ball well, that we'll get better quality shots, and some of these guys will snap out of it and start making shots. And I know that they've most of them have done it, whether it's in high school or in, at this level. So I think it's a matter of time. And but then also just the bright spot of Quinence, was really a positive, I thought, for me, and just finding ways to get him touches and get him the ball, and I think Bashir Jihad, the same thing. He's a guy that I would have some confidence with. In that first half, he was able to get to the free throw line, and we could play through him some. So I think those two guys, we trying to do a little bit more on the offensive end to get them a little more responsibility.
Could that open the floor up when those two guys are on the court together?
It did. Like, if you watched the game, the Duke game, were really overplaying a lot of stuff, and like the center of the floor was pretty wide open as they were trying to deny passing lanes and take things away. So if teams choose to do that, I think that those two guys have a chance to making teams pay on a more regular basis. JQ, even though he played hard, played well at times, really the dunk and different things he did, and missed a couple of wide open threes, had a couple of layups he missed. So he was really could have been looking at an 18 to 20 point game if he just made some of his layups and things around the basket. So we want to get him the ball. We want to make sure he has good opportunities in our offense.
Looking at Idaho State, what's that matchup look like for you?
Yeah, they're a very new team, and point guard Darling was a guy that played at Washington State a couple of years ago, so I'm familiar with him. He's a very feisty little guard, and so it's hard to gauge though, and they have a lot of new faces, a number of junior college players, and so we'll be kind of going in there a little bit blind, not knowing a whole lot about them. I certainly know about Darling with his playing at this level and playing in the rotation at Washington State, now going to another opportunity at the mid-major. You would assume that he would have more responsibility in their offense, and he'd be someone that would could potentially be a go-to guy. But I'm just still in the mode of until we could get a couple of 1, 2, 3 games under our belt, it's going to be more of, can we do what we do better than what our opponent is trying to do. It's trying to just stop them is not going to be the path to victory this week. It's going to be us really internalizing our errors or mistakes and get better from our last game.
On that note, are you any closer to knowing what your starting lineup's going to look like for the beginning of the season as well?
That's funny you should ask that question, because after the game it was so brutal. Virtually all jobs are open this week. I think Jaden Quinence has kind of sealed position. Outside of that, I still think I'm pretty wide open right now going into this week. A lot of it will be determined over the next 4 practices, and to and see, you know, who is really getting after it in the appropriate way, and who, you know, who gives us the best chance to win when the ball goes up. And then I expect whoever does not hear their name to be just so enthusiastic if I choose to put them in the game, because anytime you have a performance like that, like, no one has a job, right? Everybody has to earn everything, and even if you get 1 minute the next game, it should be the best minute that you ever try and play, if you want to get an additional minute the next time. And that's just kind of how I'm approaching, like, starting lineups. So, like, starting lineups right now, I could give two shits about a starting lineup right now.
The way that Duke was switching everything defensively, is that something that, like, teams have to be really good to be able to do?
Yeah, I mean, they have good physicality, athleticism, positional size, interchangeability, like all the things that make sense. And then if there is a breakdown, they have the rim protector at the basket. So, you know, I think they were very good at it. They were physical with us. We didn't really handle it. They were the aggressor. You know, anytime you're the team that's getting punched in the mouth, you're not going to have a great chance. We were not physical. We didn't screen well. We didn't cut hard. You know, all the things you need to do against a team that is being that aggressive. And then if they're that spread out, taking away everything, we got to be able to win the one-on-one battle sometimes. Just against a matchup, whoever has the basketball has got to be able to go by his man and create some kind of rotation. So, you know, we'll practice more against, you know, that style of defense, because I would assume, like, teams would watch that game and try and emulate that, you know, somewhat if they're trying to play against us.
Over the next few practices, you mentioned, you know, doing what we do better than they do what they do. How do you go about developing that X's and O's wise over the next few practices?
It's just going back to the drawing board with the things that we've been preaching about our position on defense, and, you know, working on the stuff that we got burned on with, you know, coming off screens and, you know, melting on screens and not fighting through it. And if there is someone that gets hung up on a screen, then someone's got to step out on a shooter, and just getting back on defense, and just our offense, just better execution. We took some ill-advised early shots, one-pass shots in a game where it was kind of, you know, 18-8 for a long time, and, you know, we just, you know, couldn't generate points. We were taking poor shots, not making the defense work. You know, so just there's numerous things that we have to get better at. And there was an out of bounds play in the first half that we didn't run the play, and we just threw it, trying to throw it into Sean Phillips, and it went out of bounds, and it was a turn. So eliminating all these type of errors that are within our control somewhat, because that wasn't the play. We didn't run the play, the out of bounds play we're supposed to run. So everyone's just got to do their job, and if you're supposed to set a screen, go set it, and let's not do what we want to do. Let's try and do what you've been taught to do and what you're supposed to do if you're going to put the jersey on the play.
That's good.
Yeah, thank you.